What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band VHS entitled We're Gonna Need Some Bigger Riffs. This is released on Horror Pain Gore Death Productions, Rotten Roll Rex. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very fast, thrashy, horror film influenced style of death metal. Yeah. I've heard a lot of really awesome things about VHS over the years, and with time, this band has really established themselves to be a very hard-working sort of band in terms of their creative output, in terms of their music, and in terms of just overall being a very fun band to listen to. Think, if you will, to stuff like, let's say, maybe Exhumed or Impaled or any of that sort of death metal mixed with some thrashy sort of parts. Like, I mean, if you also like Ghoul too, a band like VHS would be something that would be right up your alley. And this band has been very, very active and busy with their material, putting out a slew of EPs, split releases, full-length albums. I mean, some of the material that I think of that comes to mind for this band would be their very first release, Hi-Fi Horror. Really, really killer EP stuff. Their debut full-length album from 2016, Screaming Mad Gore, which I think is a very awesome album. If you haven't heard Screaming Mad Gore, definitely go check that one out. And more recently, splits with the likes of bands such as Ruin and Goremonger and Oxygen Destroyer, to even some special one-off EPs like the Very Merry VHS Xmas EP, which I think is fucking brilliant. But yeah, this band has some great EPs and split releases, but their full-length material is also awesome as well. Like I mentioned, their 2016 debut, Screaming Mad Gore, and the last time we had heard something from them in 2018 with the new batch. It's very, very awesome stuff. Love the creativity, love the vocal style, love the riffs, love the drum parts. Just a very well completed sort of band. But now here we are with the third full-length album from VHS entitled We're Gonna Need Some Bigger Riffs. Judging by the album cover and the way this album was being presented, I definitely could pick up a little bit of a Jaws sort of vibe going on around here, like evil sea mammals or something like that. I mean, at first when you see the album cover, you definitely get a little bit of that Wehrmacht sort of influence going on here, like a more nuclear, toxic Avenger sort of version of the Wehrmacht Shark Attack album cover in a way, but I think that's fucking awesome, and I think Gruesome Graphics did an amazing job with that album cover art. But let's talk about the album in general. We're going to need some bigger riffs. It's 14 tracks, and it clocks in at around 30 minutes in length, so it's going to be a short, sweet, and to the point sort of record, but I honestly think this is the best material VHS has done yet in terms of creativity, in terms of irreverence, in terms of being entertaining. There's just a lot to sink your teeth into, no pun intended, with an album like We're Gonna Need Some Bigger Riffs. Starting off with a very ominous intro, you get to the 15-second burst of the song Zombie vs. Shark, which is just another bit of humorous awesomeness that you would get from a band like this. That's where you get a little bit of that grind sort of influence with that track. But then as the album goes along, you get a lot more hard-edged momentum when it comes to the musicianship and the songwriting, and it all sounds fluid here. It's interesting that this album's called We're Gonna Need Some Bigger Riffs, because you're gonna get a fuck ton of really killer riffs throughout this entire album, and it shows on songs like Voracious and Violent, An Old Lady and Her Crocodile, Oozing, Bubbling Black Mass, Face Full of Worms. Just some really, really tight-knit guitar riffs going on here. Very entertaining, very wild riffs, awesome solo parts. I definitely appreciate the entertaining aspect of these guitar riffs. The bass work on here is very good too. Definitely holds its own amongst the guitar riffs, but I really do think that the guitar parts are what make this album stand out the most to me. Throughout the time I've listened to it, I think it's really good. The drumming on here is very well done. A lot of blast beats, a lot of fast parts, a lot of great syncopation and movement. Of course, this is a band that incorporates a lot of very short and fast, minute-and-a-half long tracks. And this drummer holds his own very nicely here. I think it's a well done drum performance. And when it comes to the vocals, I love the vocal style and delivery being done here for this band. It's very guttural. You get some guttural lows at some points, but then you get some really awesome high screams that definitely add to that variety. Whereas I mentioned the Exhumed and Impaled and Ghoul sort of influences, you definitely pick up those vibes when you listen to these high screams and growls throughout this entire album, and I think this guy who does the vocals is a very, very awesome guy to do the job. And there's some pretty cool guest appearances to be heard throughout this album, like on the track Rooting for the Villain, you have the very recognizable high screams of Trevor Strnad of the Black Dahlia Murder. He does some really top-notch vocal work on that track. And then on the song Death and Carnage Coming in Waves, you have Matt Harvey from Exhumed. It's interesting that I mentioned Exhumed earlier. Matt Harvey himself is on this track, and he does some tremendous, tremendous stuff here with that song. But as far as the main singer for VHS goes, he is definitely a force to be reckoned with here, and he definitely has some great vocal chops going on here. So overall, best VHS album to date. If you are into horror-themed death metal, thrashy, grindy sort of stuff, you're going to find something to enjoy with this new VHS full-length album. This is a very, very awesome release. So if I had to think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Let's Get Gruesome, Voracious and Violent, Rooting for the Villain, that's a great song, Oozing Bubbling Black Mass, Bringer of Death, and the closing track Marine Monstrosity. Definitely a great closing track and a great way to end the album. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box. That's how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the VHS Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it by digitally. You can also buy a copy directly from the band. Like I mentioned, Horror Pain Gore Death is handling the CD in the United States, and Rotten Roll Rex is handling the CD version internationally. So there's more than one way to get a hold of this album. So again, the album is We're Gonna Need Some Bigger Riffs by VHS. This is released on Horror Pain Gore Death Productions. Rotten Roll Rex, definitely check this one out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a very strong 8.5 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic release from probably one of the best horror-themed death metal bands going around right now. So if you've happened to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it, how you feel about it, and I think it compares to previous VHS releases. Or any of you guys into VHS, definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks all for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until next time, Army Hell out.